discuss about historical development of logic in the Muslim world. We have 4 panels today who are going to answer my question. Stay tuned. So we are going to proceed with first panel. So let's introduce yourself first.
Thank you for the salutation from the host. My name is Mustafa. I will be the first panel for today's podcast. Thank you.
Alright, Brother Mustaqim, so we are going to ask you first question. What is mantiq and the purpose of mantiq?
Okay, thank you for the first question, which is what is mantiq and what is the purpose of mantiq? So mantiq basically is a term of philosophy and logic derived from Arabic words, which refer to the study of reasoning and logic. In simple terms, it focuses on how we think and makes argument or draw conclusion in a clear and a structured way. To make it short, the purpose of the mantiq, the study of the mantiq is, let's focus on the main purpose of mantiq is to help people think more logically and avoid errors in reasoning. Basically, it teaches methods of drawing valid conclusion from given information, ensuring that our arguments are sound and based on solid principle. For example, in mantiq, we learn things like number 1, how to make valid arguments, how to spot mistakes in reasoning, basically like recognizing if an argument is flawed or based on false assumption. All in all, mantiq aims to sharpen the mind, making thinking clearer, more organized and more reliable. I think that's cover of the first question, I guess.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
So we are done with question 1, so let's go to the next panel. So we are going to ask our second panel. So introduce yourself first.
Alright, thank you to inviting me today. So my name is Muhammad Rahman Bijani and you all can call me Amam.
So Brother Amam, the question is, how did logic develop historically in the Muslim world?
Alright, regarding the question, how did logic influence the Islamic world and how did it develop? First of all, we must know where did logic come from. If we look at the timeline of development of logic, we find that the origin of logic come from the ancient Greek philosophers, which are Aristotle and Socrates. They were the founders of the logic in their time. Plus, they also expand logical thinking and their followers and students. However, how did its influence in the Islamic world? In the early Abbasid periods, in 8 to 9 centuries AD, Greek philosophical texts were translated into the Arabic due to the Greco-Arabic translation movement at that time. So, the historical of logic in the Islamic world was preserved by Muslim scholars and extend to them from generation to generation. Therefore, we can see many scholars who contribute to this field. For example, Yaqub Ibn Ishaq al-Qindi was the first Islamic scholars to translate a large part of the organons into Arabic. Then it did not stop here, but continued by the scholars after him, such as Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina and others. So, this is the historical development of logic in Islamic world.
Alright, what a good answer. Okay, let's move on to our next panel. Stay tuned. So let's move on to the third panel. So you can introduce yourself first.
Thank you for inviting me. My name is Asma Nasuha binti Muhammad Ibrahim.
Oh, alright. Okay, Sister Nasuha. Well, I have one question for you. What were the key contributions of Muslim scholars to the field of logic?
Okay, so the key contribution of Muslim scholars in logic is various, but I would like to mention 2 only. So, the first is the development of new logical concepts, which the most influential scholar was Ibn Sina. So, Ibn Sina made Abyssinian logic as a replacement of Aristotelian logic, which introduced the hypothetical syllogism, temporal monology and inductive logic. And then for the second contribution of Muslim scholar in logic is the development of books on logic. For example, Imam Al-Ghazali wrote extensively on logic. but his major contribution is the book of Me'yar al-Ilm fi Fannil Mantiq. This book explains about the rules of constructing syllogism and analogies. So, to conclude, this contribution highlight the pivotal role of Muslim scholars in shaping the new development of logic and their lasting influence on global intellectuals. So, I think that's all.
Thank you, Sister Naswa. So that's the answer from the question. We are going to the next panel. Stay tuned. So let's move on to the second panel. So you can introduce yourself first.
Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. My name is Afika Miraslan and you can call me Afika.
Okay, alright, Africa. So, alright, we are going to ask you one question. How did logic influence Islamic education and philosophical thought?
Okay, so before I answer this question, I want to declare that logic firstly is not approved by Islamic scholars because it was divided into 3 schools of thought. The first is by Ibn Taymiyyah or Ibn Salah, that they prohibited the use of mantiq or logic. And the second school of thought is by Al-Ghazali, which is he encouraged the use of logic. And the third school of thought is by Ibn Sina or Ibn Hazm and Al-Farabi, which is they permit the use of logic, but in condition the individual need to know how to distinguish between the true and the false. So, for the question, what logic influenced Islamic education and philosophical thought? Muslim scholars use mantiq in three parts, which is aqidah, fiqh, and also tafsir. In aqidah, Muslim scholars use logic to explain aqidah for non-Muslim. In fiqh, Muslim scholars use mantiq in masalahul mursala, in qawaid fiqhiyah, istishab and istihsan. And for the last is for tafsir, they use logic in tafsir bil-ra'yi. But Muslim scholars use logic with the guidance of Quran and Sunnah. So I guess that answered the question.
Okay.
Alright guys, so we are done with our podcast. So our conclusion is the science of mantiq demonstrate the brilliance of Islamic scholars in blending reason and revelation to create a robust framework for critical thinking and problem solving. It is not merely a great inheritance but a refined discipline that continues to serve as a foundation for addressing contemporary issues while preserving the Islamic worldview. This legacy reminds us of the importance of the integrating knowledge with faith to navigate the challenges of our time. So that's all for our podcast today. So thank you. Goodbye.